Thank you for joining us. My name is Ryan Whitney with Gainsight, and I am up here with our panelists. And the topic we're addressing today is how to win new business through customer success. And so really the goal here is we're going to kick off, the panelists introduce themselves, and then we definitely want to spend some time for questions so that we can have you guys all engage with each panelist we have up here. So just to kind of kick off and introduce our panelists, as you can see here on the side, we have Bernie, who runs customer success at Xactly, Abhay, who runs customer success at Hightail, and Misha, who runs customer success at Lithium. So all they're going to give you their perspective of how it pertains to their business. I'm going to turn it over to Bernie to start.
Perfect. Thank you, Ryan. How's everybody doing?
Great.
So this is talking about sales, and part of sales is negotiation. I did a horrendous job negotiating my spot. I should have had a spot instead of the last day of the breakout. Should have been talking to Nick and Dan about main stage on Tuesday, but anyways, we'll get into it. So it's great to be here. Thanks for joining us today. I want to just give you a little bit of background of how I got into customer success, because it helps tie some of the stories I'll tell of how you can increase sales with customer success. There's a lot of different folks that believe customer success shouldn't be selling anything, and they should just really be focused on making sure the customer's happy. But I think you can do both. We're firm believers, very similar to Phil at Marketo, that you should incent your folks to try to sell more stuff, because they have a great opportunity. They build these relationships and they become a trusted advisor. So just real quick, what I own is everything after the customer goes live. And I'll talk specifically what that means, because it's customer success and customer support. So everything post-implementation, I own that customer experience. I've been doing this for a number of years. Specifically, Xactly's been around for 9 years, and I've been doing it there for 7. I grew up in sales, so I have a sales background. But I also started customer advocacy in my previous company, which was Calidus, and both Calidus and Endeca were old on-premise solutions. They've changed over time, but when I was there, they were truly an on-premise solution, and it was a very different shift over into customer success for a SaaS company. And what I mean by that is on-premise, you had to call it customer advocacy because you were going out there and advocating on their behalf to upgrade and spend more money and do all these things that you don't have to do in this SaaS world, where you can truly make them successful. Because if you're truly a 100% multi-tenant SaaS application, you can give them new features on a timely basis and get them adopting quicker. So it's a great experience to actually see the paradigm shift and be able to help your customers by saying, after a following weekend when you've had a maintenance, let's go in and walk through the new features that are going to help you become even more successful, and you have a lot more power. Versus in the old world, they had to spend a lot of money and a lot of time to get the features that you were trying to tout. So that's a little bit on my background. How many of you know of Xactly or use Xactly, hopefully? Any customers in the room? Not yet. We've been in business for 9 years, as I mentioned, over 650 customers worldwide. We're exclusively focused on incentives, and so what we try to do is automate the process of paying compensation, whether it's commissions for sales reps or for rank and file that are on some sort of MBO. We believe that you can actually drive behavior through incentives, and I think you guys all believe that. You're probably on some sort of incentive plan. And so what we try to do is automate that process, provide visibility to folks so that they can actually impact their pay by understanding how they're helping reach company goals. Some of our customers, I think over the last 2 years, we've paid well over $10 billion in compensation. So these are the two groups that I have responsibility for: customer success, which I'll spend the majority of the time talking about, and then customer support. Customer success, those are the things that we focus on, and this goes back to my comment in the onset, which is if you focus on adoptions, the renewal becomes a non-event, and as you build those relationships, what you're going to find is you have the ability to really get your sponsors and your folks to see the products and see the ability to actually influence either more products or growth through sales, through customer success. For the two different groups, for customer support, we use Salesforce for our ticketing system. for customer success, we use Gainsight and Salesforce, but specifically with Gainsight, some of the things that we do to try to help sell more stuff to our customers is really look at their adoption and really look at when they're getting close to their licenses. So we run reports as well as alerts to understand as our customers get really close to their license numbers, it's time to call them to see if we can sell them more stuff. And customer success does it. We don't turn it over to sales to do that. The other way to look at this, it's a hard thing to grasp, but when you're trying to go and sell to your CFO more headcount for customer success, there's a reverse way to look at how customer success can impact the bottom line. So everybody's focused on the top line. But really, if you're saving customers, the two things that our customer success folks are measured on, there's actually three, but the two main ones are churn, so keeping a lot of the dollars in the actual family, and adding more stuff, whether that more stuff is more seats or more modules. Those are the two main things that they're compensated on. The third is account coverage. We want to make sure they're touching all their accounts within a quarter in a specific manner, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But the part that I started on was, how do you look at customer success? There's top line revenue growth, but you really should also measure the amount of money that you're saving the company each year by keeping the customers. And so that dollar amount drops right to the bottom line, and you can build a very, very strong ROI if you're doing a great job on the churn side. So you got to look at both sides of it, because you're growing your overall base by saving those customers. And I think some of the speakers that you've seen, I think it was earlier today, some of the VCs were talking about why this is an important board topic. A lot of it has to do with that bottom line, and it all tied back to churn. Customer references, the last point I'll make on that is, we really look at our customers as an asset to go sell to other prospects that we don't have today, because I'm the same way, I'm sure you guys are. A reference or referral coming from somebody that's actually using the product means a lot more than having the company just try to sell to you or me. And we find that a lot of backdoor references happen without us even knowing, just because of the community that we're in. So you have to be very aware, and you got to make sure your customers are happy, because that's another way of expanding the pie if they're saying good things about you. On the reverse side, if you're finding out that they're not, how do you get in front of that? Because that in itself is not helping grow your footprint. So we really want to pay attention to that. Net is you got to make them happy. So our coverage model is, we really break it out in the classic triangle of how big these clients are, and usually it directly relates with how much money they're spending with us. So the enterprise slice, the medium-sized business, and the SMB are the three tiers that we have on the sales side. So what we did was customer success just mirrors exactly what we have for our sales setup. So it becomes really easy to communicate with those sales reps that are engaged in the account, that sold the initial deal, and being able to expand the business together. This is just an idea of the types of customers that we service. Two more slides. Our customer success initiatives for the year is, we're creating a customer success index, which is built in Gainsight. You've probably heard about the customer scorecard. And that's really going to help us identify where the folks are that have opportunities to sell more stuff. We're going to grow premium support. That's going to be a big focus. If you don't have different support offerings, I really encourage you to look at them and look at them as a revenue source that your customer success folks can easily sell. It's an easy conversation. And then add-on revenue. We do a lot of land and expand, where we sell to one group and then expand within those accounts. And a lot of that has to do with the customer success work and the relationships that are being built. The last slide here are just things to think about as you focus on creating a sales organization within customer success. Every time you answer a question for the customer, anticipate question number 2, 3, and 4, and have that answer already. So sit down and really think through, as they have questions about challenges that they're encountering, think through what those next steps are, because they'll really think highly of you. Involve your customers early. If you have pilots, if you have new products coming out, get their feedback. They will build a stronger bond, and when you need a favor, they will remember the favors of bringing them in early. And then lastly, you got to continually test the customer experience. So put yourself in the customer's shoes at least once every 6 months, and understand if the things that you have in play for your customers, if you've outgrown them or not. For example, when you onboard a customer, pretend that you're a customer and walk through that. you should do that on some sort of frequency. For us, it's every 6 months to really understand if you've outgrown that process or if that process still works and you really understand what they're going through. So we'll have time for questions at the end, but that's my piece of it.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm mindful that we're the last people, I think, to separate you from beer later today, so we will try to keep it short and sweet. And I'm kind of in the same boat when Nick contacted me a couple months ago asking if I want to be on the panel. I was like, hey, it's 1 week before our own customer conference. I'll probably be working 16, 17 hours a day at this point. I really don't know if I can do it. It's like, no, don't worry about it. It's just a panel. We're going to ask you a bunch of questions. No big deal. You don't need to prepare for it. And then I heard that we need to do some slides and do a presentation. So bear with me. So let me kind of follow a similar format as Bernie. First of all, let me tell you a little bit about my journey. I'm probably an odd duck in the room here, and let's just test this real quick. So how many of you have technology background and grew up through a technology career? So actually more than I thought, surprisingly. So I've been in this job as Chief Customer Officer of Lithium for just over a year, about a year and 3 months. And prior to that, I spent most of my career in technology executive roles, and most recently I was the Lithium CIO, running their software as a service platform, helped start a couple software companies over the course of my career, and just helped scale organizations as well with their technology platforms. So this has been a really interesting journey for me personally, and I'm definitely going to welcome any questions you have about that, or any technologists here in the room who also are contemplating how to move from the back office to, quote unquote, the dark side, the front office of the business. It's been really interesting. I'm responsible for a number of things at Lithium. You can read some of them here, but basically between customer retention and customer support, similar to Bernie, as well as different customer programs, new business and insights. And I'll show you how the work looks like in a second. So let me tell you a little bit about Lithium. How many of you know what Lithium is or heard about us? Pretty good. So we're a San Francisco-based company. It's a relatively short walk from here. I'm actually going to invite all of you to visit us. If you're based here, if you want to check out our absolutely fabulous headquarters that we're very proud to show, just drop me a note. You have my Twitter handle right here, so tweet me, and if you want to swing by for a tour, we'd love to host you there. But what we do is essentially, the world we're living in, and I'm sure some of you can relate, is that over the last 10 years, we've entered the age of the customer. And what that means is that these new customers, the millennials specifically, have what I would call extreme customer expectations from the brands, from the companies that they interact with. And some of that, 10 years ago, if you send an email to customer support department of a technology company, it was perfectly acceptable to respond 2 or 3 days later and probably not resolve that issue for weeks. And people were okay with that. Well, not so anymore. Nowadays, we have some of our customers, have SLAs for responding to tweets, and there are hundreds of thousands of those that are hitting them every month within 5 minutes. And in fact, there are studies that if you do not respond to tweets or Facebook posts within a few hours, and if you take a day or two to do that, you will actually hurt your customer success and hurt CSAT. You're better off not responding at all. So how do brands respond and deal with that at scale? And this is what Lithium does. We help some of the world's biggest companies, as you can see here, better connect with their customers, and also help these customers connect with one another. We have a few products that we have in the market. One of them is I would describe as a social media management system, which allows you to listen to social conversations and respond at scale. And as I mentioned, we have customers that have hundreds of thousands of millions of tweets or Facebook posts hitting them every month with 5-minute, 10-minute SLA on responding to those. And this is how you acquire these customers that go to these social channels. Now, we fundamentally believe that in order to engage them and enlist them for the better good and a certain purpose within the company, you want to do that on domain. So we build online communities and various other social interaction styles on domain. And you can actually start in from social media management system all the way to the community. And one of the latest developments at our company you may have heard of is about a month and a half ago we closed an acquisition of a company called Cloud, which is a leader in, and actually a pioneer and the leader in consumer social reputation and influencer measurement. And the product that they built and brought to market is called Cloud Score. So this is the latest addition to a Lithium offering, and we're actually integrating that reputation engine into our other products. So you're going to see some of them coming to market soon. Really large software as a service platform, 100+ million unique visitors a month, billions of interactions across some of the, as you can see, largest companies in the world. So let me tell you a little bit about how the customer success org looks like. So we have basically a customer success leadership role that manages our customer success advocates that at this point primarily focusing on customer retention and lifecycle management post-sales. We also, through the acquisition of Cloud, acquired several account managers that I would say are more traditional account managers that take everything post-sales and manage implementations, as well as renewal and retention and continuous involvement with customers. I also manage a reasonably sized global support organization. Just to give you some context, Lithium has about 450 people. So our support team is about 20. And the rest of my time, which is about 12 hours on top of the 3 or 4 that I mentioned earlier, is really working cross-functionally. When people ask me, what do I actually do at Lithium? The best way to describe it is I'm the red thread that runs across the entire company and make sure that we live up to our #1 value at Lithium, which is taking customer success personally and really making customer success a job of everyone at the company and not just these folks in here. And as you can see, I work pretty much with every department at our company. When I started the job, I developed a strategy and blueprint for what customer success should be. I'm not going to belabor it here, but I'll just give you some highlights in here. So it really begins with organizational awareness and where it sits in the organization. So it was very important to me when I stepped into this role that there's a buy-in for what we're trying to do at the board level and CEO level. So there was a very strong message coming from the CEO that this is something we need to do. And I'm sitting on the management team and I'm reporting into our CEO, and I'm frequently reporting to our board as far as how our customers are doing. Once you have that, I strongly believe that you need to establish clear visibility into customer health. What this means is that if you don't know how your customers are doing, it's really hard to help them, right? So this begins with voice of the customer programs. If you're a software as a service company, chances are you already know a lot about your customer. You just need to distill that to something meaningful. This is a company like Gainsight, where they can really help you. A little pitch for Gainsight. So learning how your customers are doing is extremely important. Focusing on relationship management is really turning what I would call reactive account management. You wait for a customer to come to you and ask you something into a lot more proactive relationship and partnership. Infusing customer success internally is something that I referenced earlier, which is really making a job of customer success a job of everyone and not just your department or customer success or customer support department. One of the examples would be, educating the team, like product management team, about what products are successful, what products are struggling, and helping them make meaningful decisions when it comes to product roadmaps. That's something that will actually help your retention as well as upsell. And ultimately, you want your products to deliver value as well as services. And really creating a program such as business value assessments that you can deliver to your customers to clearly tie what you're doing for them to top 3, 5, 6, whatever that is, business goals that their CEOs or C-level executives care about, and establishing a cadence of continuously updating basically these numbers for them so they know where they stand with your investments. So what are we doing in 2014? I'm working on elevating account management strategy and function. So historically, we've been really looking at it as the account executive, a sales-driven function with account executive acting as a quarterback with a bunch of support system behind them. We're actually relooking at it because, perhaps, and that's something that I would love to poll the audience on, like hunter-farmer models and more sales-driven or completely disconnected from sales customer success programs. So we're looking at that very closely right now. We also are mapping and implementing what I would call a post-sales customer journey, where it becomes very clear of who's doing what for the customer within the organization, making sure that they're very clean handoffs and onboarding and so on and so forth. And all of that is done with the customer centricity in mind. And continuously evolving analytics, and this is kind of my forte, and especially with my previous background as CIO. We built some really exciting analytical systems internally that I'm happy to talk about. And ultimately maturing the process for customer health management across the organization. So these are our core things for this year that we're working on. Abhay actually is going to tee up some themes for generating new business through customer success for us that we aligned on. So I'm just going to hand over to Abhay. I know we're running a little bit short in time, so we'll just keep rolling, and we'll save the questions for later. Thanks.
So if Bernie is a bad negotiator, I should just be shot, right? Because I get the last part of the last segment. So thank you. My name is Abhay Rajaram. I run the customer success team at Hightail. We used to be known as YouSendIt. You may have heard of us at YouSendIt. I see my team in many ways as the chief evangelist for our customers, and I have the honor of representing this noble cause at our executive team. There's an interesting study in CIO, IT background, sales background. I come from a product background. I'm sure there's a separate conversation to be had about ideal job profiles moving into customer success, but we'll kind of stay back on that front. But very importantly, I am a rock star soccer player. I'd like you to believe that. I'm also very humble, as you can see. But most importantly, I am a proud dad of 2 kids that are old enough to be fairly independent, but young enough to love me and think I'm smart, so I'm going to milk that for what it's worth. So if you haven't heard about YouSendIt or Hightail, we're a cloud file sharing and collaboration company. I won't spend too much time on us as an organization. We're very honored to have seen great growth, 50 million customers, users worldwide, 250 employees. We're truly global. But what's interesting for us is, we started off with the classic freemium model that many of you heard about from Dave Goldberg at SurveyMonkey, very similar model. And we've been lucky enough to have focused on the enterprise and corporate segment a few years ago, and our product kind of lent itself really well to ease of use as well as security and controls that address the needs of customers really well. From a customer success perspective, the interesting thing is Bernie kind of drew the pyramid. We have critical mass across each of those segments, Fortune 50 companies, SMBs, even individual users, and that kind of makes it kind of interesting and exciting when you think about how you build customer success programs for organizations of these size. Let me go through this fairly quickly. This is the sort of the organization that we have in customer success, starting with professional services. I focus on deployments, implementations, integrations. We have what many organizations call customer success. We call it customer engagement, which is essentially driving adoption, usage, renewals, and everything in between. We have I see this as a very high potential opportunity with training and education, including content in our online community. We happen to be a Lithium customer, also happen to be an Xactly customer. I'll buy anything, sell me it. No, we're very happy customers anyway. And then of course support, which from our perspective is kind of interesting because our support team spans Fortune 5 organization all the way through to providing support to our free customers, which is kind of an interesting model as well. So moving right along, the one thing that I didn't share with you was how and when we engage with our customers. We'll maybe use that as a different component. The one thing I would go back really quickly on my previous slide is that this model works really well for our customers. It works really well for our team in terms of skill sets, in terms of hiring, in terms of career pathing. And it really helps the company as a whole in terms of being able to take the voice of the customer and leverage it efficiently in our product organization, our marketing organization, and our engineering organization. What I thought I will share with you, and hopefully folks that are in the room that have established teams will identify with, and folks that are sort of embarking on the journey can hopefully use as a bit of a compass, is the journey that we went through over the past 4 to 5 years. Through 2012, a lot of our focus was build and organize. Focus on the processes, making sure that we have the right tools and technologies in place. We actually started looking at Gainsight 2 years ago when we became a customer. Focusing on hiring the right people, getting the right talent, with a goal of exiting that year, getting out of the classic Nick Mehta's example of firefighting into a truly proactive, engagement-focused organization. And that in many ways lays the foundation for you to be able to go do more. 2013 for us was all about adding fuel to that fire and truly focusing and delivering on the business metrics, and then scaling internationally. It was a fantastic year, and making people sit up and pay attention. 13% increase in retention rates, 15% reduction in the number of under-deployed accounts. And we did that with a fantastic team where in a hyper-competitive industry, we had less than 5% attrition on the team. And that, in many ways, is a wonderful, wonderful place to get to. And so when you look at 2014, of course, we sit back, relax, sip our cocktails, right? No, so 2014 is where the fun begins in many ways. Once you have sort of that foundation and you've proven the value and justified the organization and demonstrated on the numbers, that's when you get to start focusing on obviously constant optimization, but also having some fun around inventing and innovating. And from our perspective, there's just so much more we can do. Even when it comes to truly adding more efficient ways to drive the voice of the customer through to our product organization. That's a great area for efficiency. Something that we spoke about, which is how do you build models that allow for you to differentiate on premium service offerings. We actually introduced that last year. And I think there's a great opportunity for companies to look and innovate there. Even kind of wild ideas like taking a look at your existing customer support organization. There's always going to be downtime during those times when everything's working fine, and leveraging those resources in a more proactive way. And so there's a lot of things that we think we have an opportunity to do, and hopefully that's sort of the journey that we can all go along with. So, boom, 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 boom. These were 5 things that we started our conversation with. And rather than sit down and chat about each one of those, we thought we'd throw it open to you guys. We'll kind of share with you as well. Here are a few things that we truly believe in, and it was sort of a melding of minds with Misha and Bernie as well. So I'll pause here, and we'd love to get questions or even dig into any of these specifics. Does that make sense? Cool, thank you. And we got our first question.
Good question.
Someone right here?
If you can, either any one of you can address the question on engaging early in the sales cycle.
Sure.
Is it kind of pre-close, just after post-close, after PSO is done? What do you think is the most effective time to engage the customer success?
Yeah, I'll kick us off really quickly, and I think Bernie, especially with your sales expertise, might be able to add on. What we found is our best success came with, and we learned through mistakes as well, is engaging as a customer success organization before the deal closes. And again, you kind of look at it from the standpoint of the customer first, look at it from the standpoint of the internal organization, the sales team, as well as the customer success team. From a customer perspective, there's meat behind the talk. And there's also an opportunity to plan with the vendor what an ROI success story looks like early in the process. From a sales perspective, if you're a customer, Baker McKenzie is a great example. 4.5 months ago, we closed a deal with them, and we had the plan for the first 90 days with the customer 30 days before they signed the deal. A sales rep was happy, right? He knew that the deal was committed. And then again, from a customer success perspective, we know we have our marching orders the day the deal is signed, because there's this euphoria associated with when the deal is signed that you don't want to lose. What do you think, Bernie?
So for us, it's more about engaging early in the sales cycle where you sell customer success as an advantage or a differentiator of here's what to expect. And then you walk the prospect through what to expect from customer success, how they're going to be managed, all the different things that they can use customer success and customer support for. And it gives them, I think, a sense of, oh, okay, I feel good, I feel comfortable doing business with you. And I've been a sales guy, so I can say this, it's not coming from the sales rep. So the sales rep can say things very eloquently, and sometimes it doesn't pan out on the other side of it. But if it's coming from the success or support leaders or success and support individuals that are going to deliver it, you can't really, you can't sugarcoat it too much. You're going to tell them what's going to happen, and it's a great way of helping your sales organization sell more stuff because of that confidence.
Yeah, I guess I'll add a little bit, like a slightly different perspective. I agree with everything that's been said, but I spent a ton of my time in pre-sales, and our sales guys actually, I got trained and learned that it's good business to get me and some folks on my team involved in the sales cycle early on. One of the things that we're living through right now, right, with the advent and expansion of software as a service, right? Bessemer Ventures and their 10 rules or 10 rules of SaaS said it best. So if you haven't seen that report, you should make sure to do that. You know, the second S, basically the service part, is the one that truly matters in the success of software as a service businesses. There are plenty of software products out there. A lot of them overlap on features, but it's the service that really differentiates you early on, as well as continuous success when you have to effectively resell yourself year after year when your contracts expire to your customer base. Showing your customer early on, a prospect, what you can do for them could be this differentiator that actually closes the deal.
Great, thank you. Gentleman in front.
Follow up on the new business aspect. Something we really struggle with is just prioritization between the net new and being involved in that conversation relative to the existing customer base and doing quotes the day job. Any thoughts from the panel on how to walk that tightrope?
What are the demands for your team? What type of things are they asking for?
So I run a customer success team for Oracle Social, and basically it's definitely hitting on some of the points that the panel described about differentiation and also helping customers understand that. Sorry, thank you. Differentiation in terms of the role of services in helping the technology really deliver value in the customer's terms, what the onboarding process looks like, really detailed use case understanding of how we're going to really measure up against whatever their key pain points and needs are, which is all great stuff and hopefully helps the sales guy close the deal. But at the same time, it's the same team who are responsible for servicing the existing business, and every hour that they're spending on pushing that deal over the line is valuable, but it's an hour that they're not necessarily able to deploy to, you know, today's customer who's got their renewal or has an important expansion opportunity on the table, or some combination of both. And like, you know, how do you square that circle is pretty tough.
You said Oracle, right?
Yeah.
So you're a large organization. For smaller ones, I think it's just part of the gig. You're going to spend 16 hours. You have to do everything you can to get the revenue in. But I think if it's becoming a big enough issue, I would look at really looking at your materials so that the salespeople can deliver some of it via the slides. And then we use video quite a bit. So if you can think of a video that you can put together that's maybe the customer speaking about the customer success testimonial, that they can just fire up and it's saying a lot of the stuff that you're doing, could help alleviate some of that, or at least eliminate some of the calls that would need somebody. You're still going to be needed in certain cases, but that's just some thoughts that
The other thing you should also, at some point, you will certainly consider is based off of the sharing of your customers. You're obviously going to have a different CSM to customer ratio at the top versus at the bottom, right? And in that same vein, you're probably not going to have a CSM engage with whatever your lower end customer base is prior to the deal. They tend to be more transactional and lesser engagement based, right? And then again, the last thing I would say is, at the end of the day, if you kind of incent the right way, the sales rep is incented on the new business and the CSM is incented on renewals, people will be smart in terms of making sure they know what their goals are.
Yeah. We still get sucked in. That incentive is in place.
Well, let me just help you with prioritization. I fundamentally believe that qualification of a prospect and making them successful before they close the deal is a huge component of long-term customer success. If you don't do a good job basically setting expectations, qualifying the use case, really like leading to a sale, chances are your team is just going to get bogged down trying to support them, and you're going to be compromised at the renewal time. So it is actually in your best interest to help sales. That said, they're only 24 hours in a day, maybe 25 for some of us.
Right.
So it is tough. So I think enabling, kind of to echo what Bernie is saying, enabling as much as possible your pre-sales organization and working hand in hand with them, like more technical folks who understand the product, to help deliver some of this magic that you're doing post-sales will help augment that. But as far as prioritization goes, you need to find time.
Thank you.
Question back here.
Bernie, you had talked about add-on revenue being a core part of the customer success focus. I have two questions around that. One is, how do you incent and compensate your CSM team for the add-on revenue? And then you had also talked about how it's the CSM that's going and talking to the customer about the fact that they've exceeded what they've purchased and collecting or selling more.
Yeah.
Does that muddy the trusted advisor relationship with the selling side of things a little bit?
Yeah. So I'll answer the first question. Compensation-wise, because the CSMs cover different types of customers, it's not fair to just give them a number because there's the smaller accounts that do a lot of transactions where the enterprise accounts are doing less transactions but a bigger amount of dollars. We do a team bonus for what our add-on business goal is for the quarter. So the whole team is incented to meet that number, and that way it gives somewhat of an equal playing field, so we want the team to hit the number. So everybody goes after it that way. For the second piece of it, which I have gone completely blank. What was your second piece?
Does that like muddy the relationship?
Muddy. See, I don't believe so. It's all in positioning. So you're calling up on their best interests. So it's how it's delivered. It's delivered as you are coming up on your license number that you need to. For us, it's number of subscribers. So I'm thinking of it that way. And I always blame it on a different department. So it's the compliance group that just called me to tell me that you're about to be at your number. How can I help you get more licenses? So it's that type of conversation. It's how can I help you? It's ultimately going to help us. So it's not more of a sales call. It's not me. It's compliance. Now let me see what I can do to help you out, and yeah, you start the dialogue that way.
I think this is one of those where one size doesn't fit all. Quite honestly, our model is different from Bernie's, and I think this is one of those really cool components where I think every organization aligns to what makes sense for them. I will be the first to admit that one of the holes in my compensation model for one of my groups is there isn't necessarily a clearly defined commission for new business that they bring in. As of right now, we transition new business back to the sales team. And so what we follow is something similar to what you do, which is some kind of a group bonus, but that isn't essentially called out. It's something that we sort of manage on a quarterly basis. But from our perspective, what has worked really well is separating out the non-renewal related components allows for us to have a somewhat different engagement with our customers. But again, I believe there's no one size fits all. I think there's many organizations that follow almost exactly what you do.
Yeah. I mean, not much to add here, other than my situation is rather similar to Abhay's. Traditionally, as I mentioned earlier, our account management strategy has been AE sales led, and new business effectively was tied to sales compensation. However, we're rethinking that, and we're contemplating kind of more of a hunter-farmer model where farmers effectively will be account managers and customer success people, and with a clear line of sight to add-on revenue and compensation aligned with that. So this is the journey we're presently on right now, and I think we're going to make that leap fairly soon.
So we have time for one more question. John, you had your hand up earlier.
So new business can often come from happy customers. I think one of you mentioned the land and deploy even within an organization. So with regards to referrals, whether they be internally within an organization or externally, what unique things or thoughts do you have around encouraging referrals as well as tracking referrals?
I'll take ours. It was on my slide. Land and expand. Land and expand really is our top tier accounts because they have other divisions that you can go into. Honeywell is a great example for us, or Motorola, where it's a region that we started with and then we're able to expand globally. So for that, it's more about internal. The customer internally believes you're doing a great job, and they tell their other business sponsors and other departments and other regions to look at exactly to automate compensation. For the other piece of it, we haven't deployed anything, but it was funny. We were just talking to one of my team members, and I was just talking to Influitive. I don't know if you guys have heard of that company. We have a program. It's called the Fox program, which is Friends of Xactly. And we give our customers points for doing things for us, whether it's a press release, whether they're doing a write-up on the App Exchange. It can easily be deployed to say, if you refer a customer to us, we will give you X amount of points. If the prospect becomes an opportunity and then closes, you can give them more points. So we haven't deployed that yet, but it's something that, from the conversation, I'm thinking of taking back to the ranch as a way of getting your customers involved and compensating them with this point system. They take those points, they can buy training, they can buy gift cards, they can donate it to charity. It's all part of the Fox program, but it's a thought that just came up. I don't know if that helps, but for now it's mostly word of mouth and trying to get people to talk about things.
We're using a company for the points program, or that's...
It's Influitive is a software package that allows you to deploy. It's the underpinning technology for our Fox program.
I don't have a very good answer either. The one thing that we do add as MBOs for the customer success managers is nurturing references and referrals. But that part is actually straightforward. Is there structured ways to monitor, land, and expand? I guess the unstructured answer is sales reps are smart enough; they know when there's upside and they'll stay engaged. But we don't yet have a. It's actually a good one that I'll probably take back as well. But you know, if you've sold 10 licenses into a 10,000 employee enterprise, you can bet that the sales guy or gal is engaged.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of in the privileged position of Lithium because due to the nature of the stuff that we're selling to our customers, we have a tremendous amount of success stories, and you know, and people do something highly innovative with our products, and when that happens, they actually want to go talk to other people about it and spread the word. So our business is largely built on customer success stories. If you go to our website, you will see a lot of customer references in there, and we don't have to do too much of an effort actually to convince them to do that. But you know, and we help them get together. We're obviously one of our products is community, so we have online, offline communities as well for bringing customers together and share different stories and inspire each other. Because you know, you can only go as far to try to inspire them when they see what their peers are doing in the industry and disrupt their companies, disrupt their industries. Sometimes that is truly inspirational, and that's what drives people to come to us and say, hey, you know, we loved what Sephora, for example, is doing with your site, and how can we replicate that? Or we love what Google is doing with their Glass project with your site. Like, we would love to do something similar. So that has worked really, really well for us.
Last thing I'll just say on that is, I know we're wrapping up, but for us, and I didn't mention this, I just mentioned the technologies we use, Gainsight and Salesforce. The biggest thing that I can tell you guys to do, none of this stuff is rocket science. We all know it. It's just how do you deploy it in a manner, if you're scaling your growth, it's how do you deploy the foundation via technology so that you can go back and analyze it. So our best thing with add-on business is looking at the type of add-on business. So we look at it every quarter. Was this organic growth? Was it selling more modules? Was it new divisions? And you look and see the different profiles so that you can go back into your customer base and look at those similar type customers and deploy those same sort of tactics or process to try to get more revenue. So none of it is rocket science. It's all about just capturing the data, analyzing it, and then figuring out what programs are going to work best for you, because all of us are in different types of companies with different types of customers.